Well, hello and welcome back to the News Project Live on GNAT-TV's Facebook page. I'm Andrew McKeever, the news director here at GNAT-TV's News Project, and it's a pleasure to have you with us again today on Friday, October 23rd for a little short roundup of what's going on locally and statewide that might be of interest. We'll start off locally. Two positive cases of COVID have been reported out of Burn Academy. As you may have already heard earlier last week, there was a student who apparently was identified as a positive case, and that's been followed up yesterday with an announcement that one of the faculty members, the theater arts teacher Jim Raposa, also tested positive and is now in self-quarantining at home and has been for the past week. Um, as a result, on both occasions, Burn shut down all in-person school activities for 24 hours. That includes all athletic competitions and practices. Classes today were remote as they were earlier on Monday, I believe. Um, and again, on Monday, all the practices and athletic competitions were postponed. So, just a reminder that we've heard a lot of talk about a second wave of the coronavirus. Certainly been popping up in a lot of places across the country. We're seeing an uptick here in Vermont. We've done very well so far. But even starting off from the very low base that we've seen, we are we're still not going to escape everything entirely, and some of those really low numbers we were seeing earlier this year may be going up. On that note, and shifting up to the governor's press conference, still going on right now up in Montpelier. Um, at the regular Friday press conference, the governor and health commissioner Mark Levine announced there were 28 new cases across the state that were reported as of yesterday. Some of those had to do with the outbreak that was reported last week in Barrie, that the hockey league uh, group there. Also, another outbreak at St. Michael's College apparently is driving up some of those numbers. So, you know, same old story. Wear a mask, social distance, wash your hands, and avoid large crowds, I guess. But we're not out of the woods yet by any means. On a somewhat more hopeful note, however, the governor and the health commissioner did say that the state has worked up its plans for a distribution of a COVID-19 vaccine when one does become available. They have a plan in place to distribute it as those vaccines become available, and of course, nobody knows yet how quickly that might come, if that's coming later this year, early next year, how many will there be, but basically there will be a priority list as to who will get the vaccines first. No surprise, the first batch of vaccines will go to high-risk health workers and first responders, along with people in vulnerable populations like older folks who are living in long-term assisted living facilities. Those will be followed by teachers, educators, childcare workers, and critical workers in high-risk settings. Um, Young adults, children, workers in other businesses, and everyone else will follow accordingly in a four-step process. So hopefully that will all arrive sooner than later, and at least the beginning of the end could be seen. On a related note to that, the governor is also announcing that additional grant money is going to be available for COVID impacted businesses, which is probably just about every business to one degree or another. Um, but Vermont businesses and nonprofits that have seen a decline in sales between last March and September of this year, 2020, compared to the same period in 2019, might be eligible to receive a grant through the Expanded Economic Recovery Grant Program, possibly up to $300,000, depending on the size of your business or nonprofit and how much business you didn't do as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. If you think you might qualify, you can either apply to the Department of Taxes or the the Agency of Commerce and Community Development. There was an earlier round that was distributed earlier this year. There will be another one, and grant applications are being accepted now. They have been since October 19th and will be through October 30th. The window is open, but it's not going to be an unlimited window either. So if you want to apply for a grant through either one of those agencies or departments, go to their respective websites and you can find more information there. There is a grant process application that is also on those two websites. So certainly no reason to hold back if you think you might qualify. Also, a second round of hazard pay grants will be launched next week on October 28th. These will also be distributed on a first come, first served basis. The first round, which was a $28 million tranche of money, was distributed, it was limited to essential workers in the healthcare sector. This new round of hazard pay greatly expands eligibility to other additional sectors. I think a total of 26 altogether, they said. And that includes areas like lodging, traveling nurses, janitorial services, retail and food service, childcare, and many more. The Department of Financial Regulation and the Agency of Human Services will host a webinar on Monday, October 26th, beginning at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, to give additional guidance and direction and application instructions to workers who may think they might qualify. There's a smaller amount of money, however, available in this tranche, even though the categories of eligibility are being broadened. There's only about $22.5 million available in this round. That will be distributed by or administered by the Department of Financial Regulation. So that's where you'd want to go to their website to see if you might qualify. Now, if you are a worker if you were employed for a certain number of hours between March 13th and May 15th of this year, and even if you're no longer working for the same organization, you still might be eligible, but you're going to have to contact and apply through your employer. You can't, as an employee, do it on your own. It has to come through the business. But you might be eligible for somewhere between $1,200 or up to $2,000, depending on the number of hours worked and your other eligibility criteria. So obviously worth a gander. The website is, if you got your pen ready, https://dvha.vermont.gov/frontline workers hazard pay grant program. I'm sure that's on their website there at the Department of Financial Regulation. Returning more to the local scene, we're following what's going on up in Windhall with their school budget. 28 new kids altogether are going to be in the Windhall School District, and as some of you will remember from a couple of years ago, an unanticipated increase in the number of students pushed their town tax rate up fairly significantly. And that scenario seems to be repeating itself now. Presumably, some of those 29 kids arrived as a result of the COVID pandemic. Some of them maybe folks who would have moved here anyway. But the bottom line is more kids, and that prompted a study about, or a discussion about how this all might get paid for. 5 scenarios were outlined by school administrators. They ranged from a 20-cent tax increase to 60-cent tax increase. That varies on whether or not the district might be able to qualify for a low interest loan, and whether or not they might be eligible for a grant of the Corona Relief Fund money, and how much they might draw on reserve funds. Important caveat to remember here is it's still early, and the numbers are going to change. We're not at the end of the line on this by any means, so we're going to just follow it along, and we will be having a segment that will explore this in a little more in depth, um, hopefully by early next week. Um, but anyway, yeah, Winhall's current tax rate is about $1.77 per $100 of assessed property value. So even a 20-cent tax increase is no small potatoes there at all. But anyway, we'll keep on looking at that. Winhall does not operate its own school, and it's a fully school choice district. So that's part of what gives them not a lot of cushion to deal with some of these increases in students. But I guess on the other side of it is you could argue that a lot of people move to Winhall because of that school choice option. So again, more to come. It's still early yet, and we'll have more for you next week. Wanted to mention that tomorrow, Saturday the 24th, is National Drug Take-Back Day. The National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day addresses, as we all know, a very crucial public safety and public health issue. Before the arrival of the COVID pandemic sort of occupied all the oxygen in the room, this was an area that was receiving a lot of attention growing out of the opioid crisis. It's still underway. None of that's gone away. In fact, it's probably just as lethal and dangerous as ever. But according to a 2018 National Survey on Drug Use and Health, nearly 10 million Americans misused controlled prescription drugs. And a lot of those abused drugs were obtained from family and friends, often from a home medicine cabinet. So you can take old prescription drugs that you're no longer using, no longer need, and there are 3 locations in our area you can take them to have them disposed of safely. That would be the Bennington Police Department down in Bennington, and the Manchester Police Department, their front lobby in Manchester, and also at the Vermont State Police Barracks in Shaftesbury. So again, worth having a look perhaps this afternoon at the medicine cabinet, see what you no longer need, and get it out of there. So we just want to end on a happy good news story. Mac Molding is giving $15 million, or dividing it up amongst their 2,500 U.S. employees in bonuses to celebrate their 100th anniversary. The company was founded back in 1920 in New Jersey. They were all set to have their 100th anniversary celebration back last March, but the COVID thing kind of got in the way of that, so they postponed that and put that on hold until now. But bonuses will be issued to all their employees, ranging from $5,000 a person to $15,000, depending on the length of your employment. And my brother-in-law got one of them. Been there 22 years, got $12,500, and I'm sure that's going to go a long way towards paying for that new garage he's putting up. So anyway, we're going to leave it there on a good news note, and look forward to seeing you again next Friday on October 30th. Going to be getting close to Halloween by that point. Hope you all have a good weekend, and we'll see you again. Stay safe, be well, and have a good weekend.